Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Eldon, and I'm here with my friend. You're not Dalton.
Hey!
No, this is my other friend. I have two friends, and
He has more than two friends. It's okay.
This is the awesome individual, Alexis Steele, with an awesome name.
I'm a superhero.
She's a superhero, a scorekeeper. I understand you also do some live streaming and write some articles too.
I do. I write articles for Hipsters of the Coast, and I also do some streaming normally on Wednesday nights, playing some four-color spirits in Modern.
Yeah, now she is the spirit lord. Like, don't let Supreme Phantom fool you. This is the true king or queen of all spirits. Very, very gifted spirits player.
Supreme.
Yeah, the supreme.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely go ahead and check her out. Got a link to her Twitch channel on the background phase for our channel, so you can check that out. And yeah, it's going to be an awesome time. And for our purposes today, what we're going to be talking about is scorekeeping. Now, I understand you are a scorekeeper as well.
I do some of the scorekeepings. Scorekeeping is fun.
Scorekeepings.
The scorekeepings, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I guess the first thing we want to talk about is why. Why are you a scorekeeper? Because you certainly started out in the judge program as a judge, like many scorekeepers did. So can you like compare and contrast the experience you get at like a GP or an SCG as a scorekeeper versus
Sure. So like a little bit of background, right? Scorekeeping, which I'm sure everyone who's watching does understand, that to run our tournaments, we have to keep track of who wins and who loses. We have to keep track of penalties to make sure they don't do it again and things like that. So the scorekeeper basically is in charge of all of that for everyone in their event. So that can range from your 8-person F&M all the way to your thousands of people GP. So, one of the things that I came into was I started as a judge. And one thing that I took with the judge program is you have to be very, very customer service oriented. And that's kind of like where my strength lies with the judge program, where I'm not very well versed with the rules. I have to try really, really hard with the rules, or something like customer service. I can just talk to people and that comes out great for me. So kind of one of the big things with scorekeeping and judging that they both have is a customer service avenue. And with judging, you have to be very articulate with your decisions, your rulings, all of that stuff, where when you have scorekeeping, you have people coming up saying, you put in my score wrong, why'd you make me lose, all of this stuff. So you have to be able to also communicate with the player and your customer, being like, hey, I'm sorry, I want to handle this, let's just calm down and let's figure it out. So that's like one of the big things that I know about scorekeeping is that you have to be able to act really fast, which you have to do as a judge. But usually with a judge, you get a little bit more time to think, okay, let me go discuss with my colleague to make sure that we're giving the most accurate ruling. Where with scorekeeping, you'd be like, everyone's playing, I'm on a time crunch, this person needs to get into a seat, what can I do to make it the quickest turnaround possible? Because when it comes down to it, judges want to make sure the turnaround is as quick as it can be, and the scorekeeper is the one responsible for that.
So it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like judges and scorekeepers definitely have a lot of the same macro goals.
Oh, yes, very much so.
But the experience that you have as a judge is a lot more focused on the tournament as a whole, versus the scorekeeper is focused on the players themselves.
So it's definitely one of those things where, if I have a 500-person tournament and I have 50, the round is 50 minutes, you have to put in 250 match results in, plus penalties, plus sort your slips, all of this stuff. And normally it happens in the last, 10 to 15 minutes. You're really on a time crunch. So you definitely need to be looking at individual scores, putting it in, and you also need to make sure you're looking at the overall tournament. How many matches are still out? Do I have enough time to get everything done before the end of the round, and things like that.
Awesome. So you talked a lot about the scorekeeper's responsibilities in the tournament. And so this is something that I think a lot of judges don't necessarily have a ton of experience with, because, if you've never done it before, which I went probably like 2 or 3 years into the judge program before I touched Wur or Walter or anything. I have no experience at all in that realm of things. So I also don't know, like, every time I walk up to the front stage and I need to ask the scorekeeper something, they always seem like they're really busy. So can you tell me, like, what are the physical things that if someone was going to like watch a scorekeeper work for an entire round, what are the physical things that person would see you doing?
Okay, so there's a couple things. The first one is obviously putting in result entries. So you're going to be, if you see a scorekeeper, if you see a scorekeeper look super angry, they're not angry. They're really just concentrated, making sure they're putting in the right data, basically. And so if you ever have a question for a scorekeeper, don't hesitate to come up and ask them. It's okay. They're just typing. So that's one thing you do, is definitely like those score results. The other thing is you type in your penalties. So judges, please make sure your handwriting is legible. Thank you.
All right, we made sure we plugged that one for all the scorekeepers there. We made sure that we put that in the
so I'm going to put that one
broadcast.
up there. Please write legibly. So we also have to put in penalties. And then the other thing is we sort slips. So if I have 250 tables, I just sort this. So if you have extra time on your hands and you want to, keep working or help out, don't be afraid to come up to the scorekeeper and be like, hey.
Or you need to sit down.
Yeah, or you need to sit down. Don't be afraid to come up to the scorekeeper and be like, hey, do you have any match slips I can sort? And I'm going to be like, yes, please take them. Thank you.
All right. So that's good. Now, what are this is one of the things that I kind of tell people who are just getting started at judging a tournament, is that it looks intimidating because there's all this stuff you need to know and all this stuff on the exam. But in a real life tournament, you probably are going to have 90% of your calls be focused on like the big like 3 or 4 things.
For sure.
Right? So like that'd be like for doing floor judge work, that'd be something like, Oracle text for a card, or I need
I looked at the top card of my library.
I like accidentally saw the card when I was drawing or shuffling, or I missed this trigger for my like whatever card is in standard right now. So what would be our like big hits of that vein if you were a scorekeeper?
What round is it?
Okay.
I get that one a lot. How many rounds is this tournament?
Okay.
How many people are in this tournament? Those are the big 3 from players. Usually, I always, you're focused and everything typing. Someone comes up, how many rounds? And you're just like this. They're like, 9? And we're like, yes. And then they walk away. Just because we have so much that we have to do in that small little time. I'm just trying to be like, we can talk at the beginning of the round. At the end of the round, it's very much crunch time. So those are the big 3 for players. A lot of the times for judges, it's how many outstanding results do I have right now? So normally we can just print off a little list, give it to the judge, and judge does end of round things. But that's normally the biggest one from judges is the end of round stuff.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit before, and I want to talk specifically about judge skills. Now you mentioned that the rules and policy was not your favorite part.
I am.
And I will confess I'm slightly disappointed by that answer.
I'm honest. I studied so hard when I took my L2. Like, I obsessively studied for this task because I knew what I lacked as a judge was rules, and I knew I needed to put in extra effort. So I did. Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is that would be like a difference in the skills. Mm-hmm. So they have like the L3 qualities, right?
Sure.
And like the leadership, presence, and charisma, and the
something 12 qualities.
Well, there's not 12 anymore. They changed
that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't looked at the L3 stuff in a long time.
Right. So, but like if you're gonna have like your 10 qualities of a scorekeeper, or like whatever number you would feel would be appropriate, what would you be putting on that list?
There's definitely a couple that I can think of that are very important. Like the first one is definitely being detail oriented.
Okay.
You need to be able to make sure when you're typing, you are very accurate with where you're typing, because I have been in the situation where you accidentally, instead of making the match 2-1, you make it 1-2, and you have some angry players come up and talk to you.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of like the same analogous to rules and policy knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like the technical skill that you have to have.
Definitely the technical skill. Make sure you know your way around a 9 key, 10 key. It's a 10 key. 10 keys.
Yeah. Do you have like the special one that has like the extra zeros on it?
No, I don't.
Oh.
No, this usually just a lame one. You don't need anything more. So that's definitely one of them is definitely being like technically proficient at knowing how to use a computer. The second one is knowing how to quickly think on your feet. So there's a lot of instances where when you're putting in, 500 or 250 to 500 match results each round, we're human. We're going to mess something up. So a lot of times those people will come up and be like, hey, my match was wrong. What can I do? And you have to be able to sit there, get an answer, and be able to push it out onto the floor. And that's probably one of the biggest things that a scorekeeper needs to do is be able to work under pressure and get it done as quickly as possible. So normally that's, you have that situation come up. It's like, do I need a repair? Do I need to cascade? Can I just flip these players? There's a lot of decisions you need to make. And by just looking at how many players you have, what points they have right now, where can I put these players? You have to be able to do that quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, so that sounds like the stress and conflict management quality from the L3 list.
That's definitely also the other big thing. This is mostly kind of a joke. Know how to work a printer. Printers suck.
Printers do suck. Like nobody has ever like used a printer more effectively than a scorekeeper.
You have to know how to use your printer, and if you're doing multiple tournaments, they're usually different colors, so make sure you put in the right color.
Or like tell the people, the judges, because I've had that one happen to me before.
And you're like, oh, this tournament's on pink. Why did it print off on green?
All right, so here I brought up the list of level 3 qualities. So maybe we picked a few that were like the most important ones. The penalty and policy philosophy, I'm going to say the analog to that would be accurate data entry.
There are times though where I've gone through putting in a penalty
and it was wrong.
And it was wrong.
Yeah, it was like the wrong penalty for
a lot of the times a scorekeeper can see those, and if you are a judge as a scorekeeper, you do have a background in these kind of things. So you can be like, hey, talk to the team lead, talk to the head judge, whoever would be most applicable for it. Be like, hey, I saw this penalty. Would you like to discuss it with that judge, just so they can learn from their mistake?
And I've had that happen to me before too. I've had like the head judge come up to me and be like, hey, Dave, so you gave this guy a looking at extra cards, but this description is more conducive of a hidden card error. What do you want to say about that? So yeah, that's definitely something that happens. So yeah, we talked about the accurate data entry. We talked about the stress and conflict management. Which of these skills would you say would be like the least, like less important for a scorekeeper? Like obviously we've got stuff like investigations, which probably not going to come up too much.
Yeah, normally
program construction and philosophy.
Normally those things aren't too involved with the scorekeeper, only because I'm not on the floor to help with the investigation. I can print off the sheet if someone gets DQ'd. Hey,
remember, your scorekeeper is involved in the investigation.
Yeah, we have to print stuff. Remember that printer?
Yep.
Good job, printer.
So like here's one though, like teamwork, diplomacy, and maturity. So this one here, I feel like that the scorekeeper analog to this. Scorekeepers have to use these skills, but they wouldn't use the skills under the label of teamwork, diplomacy, and maturity. They would probably be like more diplomacy, yes.
Definitely diplomacy.
Maturity, sure. But like, teamwork, also something. But I'd feel that customer service skills would fall most closely associated with this.
And one of the big things to remember is when you're starting off on anything new, judging, scorekeeping, whatever, and you have people around you that know how to do these things, don't be afraid to ask questions. That is one thing that I have always struggled with, and I'm trying to do better, is you just need to be able to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you show me?
Yeah, and that's like one of the biggest and hardest judge skills to learn is knowing that you don't know how to do stuff. Like, because that's kind of one of the things that judges get trained on for sure. Is you have to be confident and you have to project that confidence to the players, and if you don't, then you're going to get appealed or you're not going to be seen as an accurate authority figure. So this is one of those things that is the same sort of thing as a judge. Your skills, when you start out not being confident enough, and then the tendency is to become too confident,
overconfident. Exactly.
Yeah, after you've been judging
and for judging, that's one of those things where even if I'm 80% sure and I'm not 100% sure, I'll definitely confer with another judge. Ruling every time.
And like, does stuff like that happen as a scorekeeper too?
Yeah, a lot of the times I'll be like, it's mostly just not really if I messed up something, but I just need to come and be like, hey, I need to remember how to do this, or is there an easier way to print off pairings with Walter, or things like that. A lot of the times I'm going to ask and be like, hey, I know I can do it this way. Is there an easier way to do it?
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about you personally. Like we talked about how you like being a scorekeeper. Would you say that being a scorekeeper, the skills that you need is more in line with the stuff that you like to do or the stuff that you're skilled at?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely a customer service focused person. I have worked at a lot of card stores and a lot of hobby shops where you have to interact with the people that are going to be at your Magic tournaments. So one of the things I think is my strength is being able to interact positively with people. My words aren't great though. But on top of that, my like day job or whatever is actually just data entry. So I'm
nice.
using my 10 key. I'm using my computer for this kind of thing.
Now,
So
do you have your own special 10 key that you use?
I don't.
For those of you who don't know like what the 10 key is, I'll bring a picture of it up. But we're talking about like the keyboard that like the special keyboard thing that they have. So what you're gonna use? What is the 10 key used for, Lexie? Let's talk about it that way.
I'll say. What do you mean? Like
what
am I using it as a skateboard thrower?
Yeah, as a scorekeeper,
so
what is the 10 key?
What
is it and what is it for?
There's a couple things used the 10 key for. The first one and the most important one is your actual putting in the score. So 2-1-0-1 or 2-1, 2-0, 0-2, etc., etc. And you can either do it manually by actually typing 2-0, 2-1, or there's like hotkeys where you can do like 1 is assigned to 2-0, 2 is assigned to 2-1, things like that. So that's like the main use, and that's what almost 100% you're going to be doing. Looking up.
This is what it is.
Our 10 key, yeah. So most things going to be looking up your table numbers, just using the 10 key, and putting in your record for each table.
Awesome. So yeah, like
but I do not have my own special 10 key. I've thought about it.
The reason why we use these, by the way, like is efficiency. It's significantly faster
to just have my hand in one place
to do that than it is to use the mouse, which is what I always would do. Yeah. Like I don't have them memorized yet. I'm still working on it, but like the only stores that I have experience entering the results in, they don't have the 10 key thing on their keyboard, so I have to like go onto this stupid.
That's so bad.
Yeah. Like
I've thought about like programming. So I have like a MMO mouse, like the 12 key mouse.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and I've thought about like programming that for it, so I can just click it with my just be like, yeah.
Oh yeah, how big of a baller would you?
I would feel so cool. Oh, wow. So that's like I've definitely thought about like setting that up for those events.
Yeah, for sure, that would be amazing.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, I need to do that, and then the event happens, and I'm like, crap, I don't have enough time.
Yeah, and then you'd have to like practice with it too, probably
exactly,
to like not lose effectiveness.
For sure. And I already have it programmed for my games, so I'd have to completely
you'd have to have
the
another
keys.
like mapping for it.
Yeah, it'd be so brutal.
All right, so now before we get into our next topic, because our next topic is kind of a shift, I wanna open things up to the chat. So chat, if there's any questions that you have for awesome veteran, semi-professional almost scorekeeper.
I've been it for a couple years.
Yeah. I mean, like you've been a scorekeeper for like as long as I've been.
I can't think. Probably when I become an L2.
I don't know.
2014.
I was gonna say I should know this.
It's been like 3 years or so.
3
years or so.
But yeah, like if anyone out there in Chatland has any questions that they'd like Lexie to address, we can definitely do that because that's what we're here for. We're here to have everybody interacting with the scorekeeper in a less threatening and less.
I'm not
why are you
angry.
disturbing me while I'm entering these results?
It's so true, and I just want to reiterate. If you have a question for the scorekeeper, you can ask us. We're just also probably be looking at the computer and putting in data while you talk to us.
And like I for sure have like been intimidated by scorekeepers before.
Me too.
It's like you walk up and they're like. You just like look at their face and they're like, okay, I really don't feel like it would be. It's like when you're in a video game and they play like the ominous music right before the boss fight. It's like that's literally the feeling that I get when I walk up.
You're just like looking for the save spot.
Yeah, and like now it's better because like I've been to enough like GPs and SCGs that I've worked with most of the like bigger scorekeepers who do a lot of those events before. But I for sure remember when I was newer in the judge program, like thinking, oh my gosh, I really do not want to have to talk to this person. For sure,
you can definitely look really intimidating.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure I have like when I rest my face, it is not good when people walk up. They're probably like, oh man, she's so angry. When I'm like, no, I'm just typing really fast.
Yeah, the part that makes it worse is like when you're concentrating.
Yeah,
when you're
the
concentrating,
brow
you're never smiling when you're concentrating.
Oh, it's so true. Like,
yeah. So you never look open and approachable, even if you're not actively trying to project that vibe.
I do actively try to have my little chikorita with me,
so
I can try to feel a little more approachable.
Is that what like the same thing like Liz does with the hats?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. She goes to every single event with me. Since I've been working on stage.
Could you like please tell some of the other? I'm not going to name any names on the stream here, but I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after because I'm too intimidated and I don't want them to hear.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no,
Could you tell certain scorekeepers that they should please try to do the same thing, because that would help a lot, I think.
I might be able to give you some tips on how to make that better.
Okay, all right.
So
is this like secret tips?
Super secret tips. Super secret tips.
Super secret.
Super secret tips.
Okay, so not to be confused with the super secret tech.
Super secret tech is super secret though.
Yeah, it is super secret, but fortunately, if you are a baller, then you can find a picture of it. So speaking of the super secret tech, Lexie, this card is only available as a foil.
Oh, that's super secret tech there.
Just like that one
legacy card.
Yeah, gosh. So speaking of super secret tech, I'm sure this is the biggest question I always have, and I did some polling before this to get some ideas for questions that we should have. The biggest question that there always is on people's minds is, how do you get into scorekeeping? Because there isn't a thing on Judge apps where you can there is now for GP scorekeepers.
Some GP scorekeepers, but it's hard to get into them.
You can't get in GP scorekeeping unless you already have some scorekeeping. So how did you get in, and would you say that's a reasonable?
So my line, I don't think is the normal line of how you get into this.
Yeah.
I was just kind of asked out of the blue to see if I wanted to start off doing stage staff for SEG. So I did that for a while before I even had an opportunity to do these scorekeeping opportunities. But if you do want to start scorekeeping, the first thing I can always recommend you is talk to your LGS and see if you can start doing the scorekeeping for your local FNMs, your local PPTQs, any event like that they can help with. And if you want some practice beforehand, you can definitely download Wizards Event Reporter.
Yes,
as well.
And I did not know this. I did not know that just anyone could go on the one website. If you Google it, you can find a link to it. But I did not realize that you could just go online and download. Where I thought it was one of those you had to be a accredited LGS WPN member in order to.
It is like that for Walter, sadly.
Yes.
So you can't. You don't have.
It's not even that. It's not game stores. It's there's a list of 10 people or whatever, and if you're not in the cool kids club, then
I definitely asked about it, and they're like, no, and I'm like, but I've used it before, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
We tried, friends.
We tried.
So that one's a lot harder to get any experience on, but Wizards Event Reporter is very similar. It's a little harder to use just because of the interfacing compared to Walter, because Walter's built for, I'm going to be running a 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 person tournament.
Yeah, and it was designed in this century.
It was actually designed in this century, and still does. Yeah. Anyway, so that's definitely the first step. And then if you want to start progressing from that, do that for a couple months, a year, 6 months, how long it takes you to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then maybe reach out to some bigger stores in your area that run RPTQs or things like that. These bigger IQs, just some of these bigger regional tournaments, and maybe
so we're talking maybe the 100-ish player,
that 100-ish, the old school PTQ size. So that's where you're going to want to start, get up to, is that part. And then once you get up to that part, get a couple of those into your belt. Start applying to these GPs, because now Channel Fireball lets you apply for admin positions.
Now there is an actual thing on Judge apps where you can be I want to apply to be a scorekeeper for a GP, not just for judges. So
once you get to that point, you can be like, hey, this is the experience I've had. I'm really comfortable with this program. I really want some bigger opportunities. I know I've been judging a lot of your events. Is this something you can help me with? The worst thing they do is say no, and you get to judge.
Yeah. I am going to add one additional piece of advice on this, and you can correct me if this doesn't seem but a lot of the people that I know who are scorekeepers now are friends with scorekeepers and other admin staff before that happens.
For sure.
So if you are interested, kind of talk to the people who are on stage staff, float the idea out there.
Put yourself out there.
Get people who are known good scorekeepers to know that you're a person who's interested in transitioning over to scorekeeping. Ask them for some advice, and maybe mention, hey, I'm interested in coming to work on the stage staff or working as a scorekeeper. What do you feel like? So if you got the connection with a person who is a known good scorekeeper, that's literally exactly the same kind of idea as if you're an L1 who wants to get staffed on a GP or a SCG. How do I do that? It's the same sort of thing. So.
It's actually pretty cool. Judging gave me a lot of these skills for networking that I never had before, and it actually has like led me into like my like day-to-day life, like my job and everything like that, like has come from magic and the judge program and things like that. So the one thing you need to make sure you do is don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to volunteer, to go above and beyond, because that's how you get people to notice you. You know, these people that are on stage staff, they see every single weekend new judges, right? So everyone's just going to blur into the background, blur into the crowd. So make sure you try to find something that can try to push you up over in the top.
Yeah. And like realistically, standing out is literally not hard. You literally just have to figure out something that other people aren't doing and then do that thing.
And if you want to stand out to someone like a scorekeeper, come up every round and be like, hey, can I help you sort slips?
Yeah. Or bring like a bag of Doritos. Well, maybe not Doritos. Maybe like a Nutri-Grain bar or something. You like Nutri-Grain bars, Lexie?
I really like the chewy chocolate chip ones.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
well,
So whoever gets those is like real smart.
Yep. Every now and then it, the scorekeepers are people too, and as such they can respond to food rewards.
Spoiler, we all get hangry.
Yeah, and like especially like it's bad for scorekeepers because like you're literally, you can't be like, hey, I need to get off my feet and take a break nearly as easily as what a judge can.
You definitely have to be like, hey, I'm gonna go take my 5-minute lunch right now since the round just started. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
And so like that's the reason why you see them all the time up at the front stage with like their like bag of noodles or whatever, and they're like chowing down while they're still typing on the 10
definitely.
key. Like,
I definitely been like, I'm gonna run over here, grab my really crappy convention chicken nuggets, and come back.
Yeah, so that's another thing maybe you could do is you could like volunteer.
That's
on your
that's
break
really
round.
good, especially if you're in the Columbus Convention Center. I will always take bubble tea.
Bubble tea, yeah.
Yeah, that's my. So if you bring
everybody always has like their favorite thing, especially from Columbus.
Oh, I
like,
love bubble tea.
Columbus is like the biggest like food, divider. Like some people are like, oh, the Skyline chilies.
No, I grew up in Southern Ohio and I don't like Skyline.
That's bad.
It's gross. Like, I will go eat it. I will eat my tiny little hot dogs with a bunch of cheese on it, but like...
I don't like chili in general, so like...
That being said, I listened to a podcast the other day, Pro Points, with Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa.
Oh, one of my favorite Magic pros.
He's very awesome. He actually said that his favorite convention center is the Columbus Convention Center.
Wow.
Yeah, because of all the food options.
So, fun fact, when I was in Sao Paulo, I ate convention center food for my lunch, and what was it? It was a burger and fries.
Hey!
I went halfway around the world, so I can eat a burger and fries.
Who would have thought? So,
wow.
So that was kind of cool. So I just listened to.
So I believe him when he said that. Like I believe him saying an American.
I know a lot of admin staff for both Channel Fireball and Star City love coming to Columbus. That's why you see Star City come to Columbus. Like,
well, Columbus is a great city. For
I know it is. But they come to they come to Columbus 4 times a year, mostly because they get huge events there, but 2.
Yeah, I mean, Indy gets those too, and Indy's food options.
Indy has actually decent food options, though. It's not Columbus. Nothing is Columbus, but there
are
worse
mall
ones.
Food court and
it has worse
Noodles
ones.
and Co. And
hey, there's a Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake is my new go-to, by the way, for Indy. That's my super secret tech is Steak and Shake, and then you download the app. And you let them steal all your email and data and stuff. But in exchange, you get like this really nice rewards program where after every X events, and I go to Indy enough times, it's like
I'll have to look at that one then.
Yeah.
Because
you download their app and their food is reasonably cheap too.
Definitely when I was at Gen Con and we pulled our all-nighter, we went to Steak and Shake to have breakfast. It was awesome.
Steak and Shake is surprising.
It was awesome. So
if you want, we can talk more about Steak and Shake, but
sorry. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm very hungry.
Oh gosh, I apologize for that.
Okay.
Usually for Doll and I make him some food or some cupcakes or something.
That's a lot of work.
Okay, so once you get in and you're a scorekeeper, you got your shots. Maybe you want to level up. Now, obviously, in the scorekeeping program.
It's a lot harder.
They don't really have a scorekeeping program. They don't really have levels, but they definitely do have kind of tiers. You've got your level 0 who's a score keeps at their LGS, and then you've got the level 1 who could score keep a 100-player event, and then you can go a step up and now you're sides at a GP or and then you've got your top tier level 3.
It's funny. I actually find so Wizards Event Reporter did put something in called Wizards Event Reporter Sides, which we call worse.
Because it's WER side events.
So SE worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, so worse is actually it made a lot of things better. It made a lot of things better. However, just because of how like your 8-man pods fire off, I almost find scorekeeping like 8-man pods harder than doing just like a 500-person tournament.
Interesting. I guess that makes sense because like you probably have more experience.
I have more experience with like the side events.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
It's that much more.
It's just you get so many like new people in, so you have to like put them all in, and you have to like build your bracket, and then you have to do the next one. It's just so tedious to build brackets.
Okay.
So you get your 8 people, then you have to put them in their quarters, and put them in the semis, and put them in the finals, and choose a final winner. Yeah. So you have to like build a bracket with them. So it's actually like
it's not just like click.
So I have to like type in their PCI number.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Drag their name. Ugh. So at least I don't have to do like weird normal
and at least it like doesn't break every 5 minutes.
It does, and it don't get me wrong, it's way faster than Word. It's so much better. But just like compared to like these bigger tournaments, I almost think they are more like stressful.
Yeah.
And more just because they're so tedious. I have to like
there's
take
more
breaks.
Stuff, and there's like more like repetitive stuff.
Exactly. And then like you have to like make sure you have like your matches right for your bracket.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty gross.
I know.
So okay, what I'm getting at here is like there isn't a defined you can't go to like blogs.magicjudges.org/o and then find like the requirements
the tiers,
to get up to the next tier of scorekeeping. So can you maybe like shed some light on what kind of stuff separates the different tiers?
Yeah, so definitely just one of the things like your local LGS is your lowest tier, but you're going to be doing 8 to 30-person events maybe if you have a really big F&M.
Yeah.
The next one's going to be those PPTQs, those IQs. They get up to like the 50-60 realm. After that is going to be your like RPTQs, things that are like 100. SCG regionals is the same way. And then the big barrier, so like that's usually pretty reasonable. The big barrier is jumping up to the 250, 300, 500 range. And that you do just need to keep grinding at those lower levels and keep applying and putting yourself out there at events and being like, hey, this is something I'm interested in. And then once you get there, that's basically where you hit. I haven't gotten higher than that yet. That's where I'm at. Basically, after that, for you to judge these bigger events, you need to, be an employee of Star City Games. You need to be an employee of Channel Fireball or someone that's been doing this for 15 years. So it's a lot harder to get into the next bar, but I'm sure people can do it.
Yeah. So what would you say skill-wise is the difference between those people? Like, is it literally just experience, or I
think experience is the biggest one. Experience, being able to not only go from 250 to 1,000 people, just being able to handle that volume of people in your tournament, but also being able to handle that stress of that many people in your tournament, being able to understand that there's 4 times higher chance of something to go wrong, and just being able to like harden yourself to that. And I think experience is really the big key.
So if you wanted to get up to the next level, the best thing for you to do would be to like
just keep scorekeeping.
Just do it more.
Just keep scorekeeping. It's just like judging. It's just like playing Magic. You just gotta keep on keeping on.
Yeah. So okay, who would you say? This is another thing that I kind of like pull from the judging sphere, because like for judging, there's like the judge qualities.
Sure.
And if you gave me a specific judge quality, I could think of like some people who I would say, if I really wanted to improve in X quality, I would go talk to this person.
Sure.
If I really wanted to be better, because one of the biggest things that I've noticed in the judge program is that judges tend to have like their specialties.
Sure.
Or their things that they're certain skills you're really good at, and certain skills you're maybe not as good at because it doesn't match with you as well. So would you say that the same thing happens with scorekeepers? Would you say scorekeepers have different like styles or personalities as far as that sort of thing goes?
They probably do. Just the one thing you need to remember is that the judge program has grown so much, right? And our judge program is huge. The scorekeeper one is still pretty small.
Right. There isn't even like an official...
nothing official.
Yeah, it's just like these are some
These
people...
are the scorekeepers.
Yeah.
You see them at every single GP.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing is like you have your scorekeepers that have done this, that have kept doing this, and that can be available all this time. So it really comes down to, do they all have strengths? Probably. There are some people that are probably a little more bubbly towards players when they're scorekeeping, and ones that are very much more technically aligned. But I think all of the people that you see at these GPs, these SCGs, can definitely just help give you whatever information you need. And you just don't be afraid to ask.
So they all would say, like, for example, if you put like a really difficult scorekeeping challenge in front of like, you know, the 5 elite scorekeepers, you probably would expect to see the same answer happen 5 times.
It depends. So normally, like with scorekeepers, right, we still have a range between like technical efficiency and like customer service.
All right, and that's the same sort of range that you see in the judge program.
Judges, but it's a little smaller because a lot of times like all of your scorekeepers need to be technically focused. But when it comes to a lot of the customer service, if it gets out of hand, it turns into a TO situation.
Right. Okay.
So if someone comes up to me, right, and says my result was entered wrong, I'm sure each of them will handle it differently, but I don't think it'll be a broad range different.
Right. Because the physical actions that they would need to do would be the same. It'd be to like open up the pairings and then find where they were.
Exactly. It just comes down to personality quirks in between each person.
So it'd be like so for me, I guess, you know, comparing what would happen in that scenario would be like comparing 5 like really good judges, say, handle a missed trigger call, like a really basic missed trigger call.
It really comes down to just delivery to your customer.
Yeah, and so like for something like that, like I would expect to see like roughly the same for everybody. Is there any problems in scorekeeping that you would expect different answers? So like for example, if I found like 5 really excellent judges, and I had like a really complicated cheating investigation, for example, I would not expect all of them to approach that the same way because that's like a more open-ended problem. Is there more open-ended problems in this scorekeeping world?
With scorekeeping, a lot of it is very cut and dry. There's always like
it's like a data entry.
Yeah, it's very much data entry. The only thing I can think of that might come down to it is if you have a really complicated repair situation. So normally we can do repairs with I messed up one entry, putting it in. I can just flip-flop my players. My winner is my loser. My loser is my winner. Easy fix. Just set them at different seats. Okay. But sometimes it can get a little more complicated where now we can't just flip them because their points were entered because, say, we gave them a draw, but actually someone won. So now they're paired to the wrong person with points. So you have to do like a cascading repair. So I repair this table. That means I have to repair this table, which means I have to repair this table all the way down. So sometimes you might have to be like, is this cascading repair, depending on how long the cascade has to be, worth doing over repairing the tournament? That's probably the biggest one I could think of where that might have a situation where with these larger tournaments, normally you're going to be cascading because we're okay with the extra 10 to 15 minutes.
For just that one match.
For just that 1 to 2 to 3 matches compared to having to make 1,000 people stand up, go find their pairings, and then sit back down.
I literally don't think I've ever seen that happen like a GP or a SCG or something.
Normally it's going to be a cascading repair. You can always figure out how to do something like that.
I've seen maybe more than that.
But that's something that you can actually kind of keep an eye on whenever you're doing these smaller tournaments.
Yeah.
So if you put it in wrong and you see it messes up, you can actually just like slowly start to manually repair people for your 30-person tournament or something like that. So
how about this? We talked about that specific situation. What else can go wrong if you're a scorekeeper? Because we hear all the time about how Whir is like got a certain reputation around these parts for. So there's a couple things that can happen. Yeah. What's like the most common? So the most common is just that like it breaks. It just like stops responding, you know, how computer programs do every now and then. Right. And then for some reason it like didn't back up you didn't back up or didn't save. So now you're like, crap, I have no idea what I did for this next round. Yeah. So a lot of the times in the smaller scale, it's like, okay, whatever, fine. I can go see those 8 people are playing. I'll just pair them up and it's fine. But for something like Grand Prix Vegas, a lot of the time with Walter has certain bugs where it will cause it because it's still in development. It's still in development where it causes it to break, and then every time you open it, it re-breaks because it like sees that you made that mistake, breaks, goes in, sees that mistake, breaks, goes in, sees that mistake, breaks. So normally we have backups for this, right? So we save our backups at the beginning of the round and the end of the round. So if something breaks halfway through the round, I can just go back to the beginning of the round and re-put in my entry. If I end my round and I start into my next round and it breaks, I can just go back to where I entered all my entries and just keep going.
So that's normally the one thing you really need to be aware of whenever dealing with like the bigger softwares is backups are your best friend.
Yeah. Now what are the backups like? Is it just like a text file that says like?
Walter uses like a JSON file.
Okay.
Which I don't actually know what JSON stands for. But
JavaScript something.
Whatever. So you have to save it in that file, so you can just open it up because that's what it can read. It's not just a text file. I don't know.
But it is like text in a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So like because I hear scorekeepers talk about backups all the time, and I've never really like actually known what that is. Like, you know, when I back stuff up, it's like, you know, I hit the Control C and then move it over to a different drive. But like, you know, for backing up a tournament, that's kind of more of an abstract sort of thing. So that's interesting to know.
A lot of times you have like your tournament folder, and this is like the main tournament you're running it off of.
Yeah, this is like some behind the curtain stuff.
I know, right?
Here.
So this is your main tournament, and this is where you save everything. This is where you run everything.
Okay.
And each round you just like take this file and save it here. Take this file, save it here, and then you go back to this file. And every time you make a change in this file, you save it somewhere else with a different name.
And you have like one for each round, or like
one for each. I have one for each beginning of round and end of round.
Okay, all right. Is that like kind of a standard practice for scorekeeping? Yeah. So that's something you would need to know. If you were going to go to these like bigger tournaments, because like, you know, I've never done a backup at a, you know, LGS level. So is there any other stuff like that? Is there any stuff that like you know wouldn't know to do if you're coming from like this background and you're going to the next level on any of the levels?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything in particular, like just being aware of trying to like the backing up, even like your local files, like saving your event before exporting and things like that, just in case, I don't know, someone realized it got messed up and wants it fixed. You know, it's always good to have that information.
I heard about that one, the save before you export one, because let's just say that if work crashes while you're exporting, something might not work.
Yeah. So I always save, export, save, export, save, export. So definitely backing up your files is huge. Even, like I said, even now, like I would go anywhere if I was doing FNMs, if I was doing IQs or RPTQs, I would make sure I back up. Because if you don't back up and it crashes, then like the whole entire tournament's on your shoulders with time. And we all know players want to play Magic and judges want to judge Magic, and no one wants to be there until 12 p.m.
Not
a.m.
That's
12 a.m.
happened before.
No.
You know.
So that's definitely like the biggest thing to take away is if you do want to score keep, understand that something will and can go wrong.
Yeah.
And try to take every action you can to prevent that.
And that I think is like one of the biggest, you know, we've talked about like a lot of the differences between judging and scorekeeping. This is one of, I think, the biggest ones that makes judges not want to turn to the scorekeeping side is that like if you're a judge, you know, you make a mistake, you get a ruling wrong. What's going to happen? You know, you tell your team lead about it. Oh man, sorry about that whammy. Everyone makes mistakes. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
You know, do you need to take a couple minutes off the floor to
like recoup,
refocus? You know, that's fine. Whatever. Okay, you know, you make like a bigger mistake and like, you know, maybe the pairings like don't get posted until like, you know, a couple minutes after what they would have been posted. And like literally that's what the difference is. Like 2 minutes worth of you not having the pairings up. 2 minutes off of everybody's life in the entire tournament is wasted because of your misdeeds. And then like probably the most serious mistake you can possibly make as a judge in like, you know, reasonable circumstances would be like you have an investigation and you make the wrong call. Like maybe like
it's a judgment call after all.
You like judge and it turns out like the guy didn't actually do it, but you DQ'd him.
Sure.
Like stuff like that is like probably the biggest deal mistake that you can make as a judge in a normal situation. Now as a scorekeeper, what's the most you could screw up a tournament just individually by yourself?
You could delete
on an
it.
Accident.
You could accidentally delete it and have to restart it.
And
or you would delete it and try really, really hard to like get all of the pairings back and your match results. Manually repair every single round, assuming it's like round 5. Input the scores, the results, and everything, and try to do it in an efficient time.
So how long would you say that would take an average scorekeeper?
I don't know. How long was GP Vegas down?
Or Charlotte. Charlotte was beat.
Yeah, Charlotte was.
So that's
I was at Charlotte, and that was brutal.
That's in fact another one that can happen is that sometimes through literally no fault of your own.
Yeah, it's just
it can just like
break.
Nope. we're piecing out.
Yep.
Not feeling it right now, guys. Sorry about that.
It might be
tournament
anything
you were
from
doing.
like a DCI number is wrong and it can't figure out what's going on, so it just like crashes because it can't find that DCI number.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens with these big tournament errors when you see like these big wait times at like GP Vegas, GP Charlotte, things like that.
So it's not
nothing,
the scorekeeper's
it's
like
nothing
really
the
like
scorekeeper
jonesing for
did.
some coffee. And,
no, it's nothing the scorekeeper did. It's literally Walter has just breaks.
Yeah.
And so so whenever we see these long times, like don't blame the staff, don't blame the scorekeepers, none of that stuff. They're working as hard as they can to get it fixed as fast as possible.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the biggest things. Like if you're interested in scorekeeping, you know, we want to help you out, but at the same time we want to make sure you have all the information. And this is
I'm not trying to scare you away. I promise.
This is in my opinion the biggest reason why I personally would haven't thought about being a scorekeeper seriously yet, which is that literally you can have a situation where every single person in that convention center is looking at you and being like, okay, bro, we're when do we get to play Magic again?
Yeah, at some point the entire tournament just kind of rests on your shoulders.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that can and does happen to scorekeepers routinely. Even if it's not like them making a mistake, even if it's literally just them like entering in the last like 5 or 10 results, and when you know everybody in that room is waiting on you to finish that task, it feels like every single keystroke you do is taking like 5 times, 10 times as long.
And this is another thing I'm going to point out. So we all understand that we want to get the turnaround of these tournaments fast. You don't have to pressure the scorekeeper to print out your stuff. I get people want to stay up at the.
Oh, wow.
I get people want to be close to the printer so they can get it out as fast as possible.
Right.
But you don't need to be like, all right, hurry! Like, oh man, we're doing so good at our time. Like, just it's unnecessary. We don't. It's okay. You telling me that will not change how fast I'm going to print it out.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's a really weird pet peeve of mine. I hate when people are just like, oh, we're so close to breaking our time from last round. Oh, like go faster. Can you print it out any faster? I'm like, please, just stop. Just stop.
Because that is the thing that happens. Like, if you're not seeing the inputs go into the computer, then you can see the scorekeeper like not doing any inputs and be like, hey, why are you not doing any inputs? Shouldn't like, you be doing inputs so that the tournament can proceed? Yeah,
it's like I'm literally like waiting for like my software to process.
Those things, those saving the tournament takes time. Sending stuff to the printer takes a long time.
Especially if it's a really finicky printer. Every time I scorekeep, my printer just acts up.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. So I blame it because its name is usually Tybalt.
Oh, you got the Tybalt printer?
Yeah, I do.
Gross. Ask for a blue one next time. I think the blue one.
Apparently Tamio is really, really moody.
Is it?
Yeah, I guess Tamio is very moody.
Did they change that? Because I heard that Jace was the problem child.
I don't know anymore. They switch around.
Yeah. So that's a thing. Like if you hear them talking about like, oh, Nissa is down right now, or like, oh, can I borrow Chandra for a second? That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're talking about the printers.
Yeah, we are.
We're
named after Planeswalkers.
That's some behind the curtain stuff for you too. There, like the printers are named after
They
Planeswalkers.
are.
So you got that valuable information for interacting with your scorekeepers here. So that is a lot of really interesting stuff. We've got a little bit of time here. I'm going to ask if there's any questions from the chat, but I'm also while we're asking for the chat questions, because I know there's like kind of a delay here. Lexie, have you got any awesome or non-awesome scorekeeping stories that you would like to share?
I don't even know if I have any awesome scorekeeping stories. Like all of mine are really boring. I've never had any crazy exciting.
I'm gonna share a story with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Once upon a time, I saw a guy using a sideboard card upside down as a token, and I was like, sir, you should not do that due to the fact that you might have it end up in your deck or your hand, and that would be bad. So here's what I did. I got like a piece of paper, and I like drew a cartoon version of a plant. It was a plant token. Drew a cartoon version of a sunflower like waving at the guy, and I gave it to the guy, and I was like, here's something you can use as a token instead. And so the next time I was at a tournament, like not even in the same city, it was like Indy and Columbus, I think is what cities it was. So the next time I saw, like out of the corner of my eye, I saw this this white sheet of paper that looked like my drawing, and it was my drawing. And what he did is he put it in a sleeve and he like kept it with him, and he used it the next time he played the tournament. So that's my story that I tell whenever someone is like, why is judging awesome?
I do have a good story.
Yeah,
I do have a good one. It has nothing to do with like scorekeeping. I mean, I was technically scorekeeping when this happened or whatever.
Okay.
So backstory: I was at a GP, SCG, whatever, something, and it was some sort of like Amonkhet or Hour of Devastation.
All right,
format,
I played those formats before.
So I'm over here doing my scorekeeping thing, hanging out, and like I have like fake nails at this time, and one of them has fallen off. So I bought super glue. So I have super glue in my bag. So I'm like trying to fix it and put it back on. And the guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I have a big problem." And I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "My glasses broke." And I'm like,
That's awful.
What's going on? He's like, "This is so awful." I was in the middle of my thing. And it was like right here, right? So it was like right on the frame.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, are you okay if I use super glue? He's like, what? I'm like, are you okay if I use super glue? So he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I grab my super glue, glue it back together, hold it in. I'm like, okay, try this. He puts them on. He's like, oh, this is perfect. I get to go play Magic again.
Yes.
Yay. And I'm like, sweet, awesome. So the next day, because this was Saturday, go on Sunday, he comes up to me to get prize points. And I'm like, hey, how'd you do at the event yesterday? And he's like, oh, I scrubbed out. I've been doing drafting, and I opened Masterpiece or whatever they were, Invocation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what Invocation is it? And he's what is the card? Aggravated Assault. Is that what it's called?
Well, that's a card that was Invocation.
I think it's Aggravated Assault. The one that's the enchantment that you can pay to give everything an extra combat. Yeah, bring it up. Yeah.
Oh, it didn't give me the...
whatever. So anyway, so this is an Aggravated Assault. So he's like, oh, yeah, I pulled an Aggravated Assault. And I'm like, oh, I love Invocations. I totally want to get one for my deck at some point. And, we talked. And then, like, a couple hours later, he came up. He's like, hey, I want to give you something for all the help you've done because you made my tournament so much better because you helped me, fix my glasses. And he gave me this Aggravated Assault. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh. So the guy came up to me and was like, if it wasn't for you, like, my whole entire event would have been ruined.
Aww.
And here's your Aggravated Assault. So there's my Aggravated Assault. I have it in my EDH deck, my red-white EDH deck right now.
What a heartwarming story.
I know, isn't that? That's like my like warm, fuzzy, I felt so good because I had super glue in my purse.
Yeah, exactly. And so, this is the sort of thing, that it's really all about. The stories that everybody who's been doing this for a certain amount of time has those stories. And I imagine that the scorekeeper stories are kind of very focused on the customer service aspect of it.
Unless you have like a really cool Cascade pairing you did, which I've never actually had to do a really cool one. It's been like 2 tables. And it's like, ooh, we did it.
Because, people come to the stage staff for stuff like that. They don't come to the judges and be like, hey, bro, I broke my glasses. I'm like,
a lot of the stuff, even when you're up there, when you're up at the stage staff, you also are committed into that customer service role. So if people have questions, like you're the ones that's answering for them, whether or not you're a scorekeeper or just doing registration.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is like kind of a like cool perk responsibility, whatever you want to.
I really like interacting with people. I really like helping people. I really like giving people their lost $5,000 legacy deck, which I've done before. That's fun.
$5,000? What legacy deck?
It was like lands or something.
Couldn't get so like 2,500. That was the Tabernacle.
Yeah. He was like freaking out. And then like I've also given like someone like this foil affinity deck back, and it wasn't even his. It was his friend's, and he was borrowing it for the tournament. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I have I've been on the other side of that, and I have reclaimed legacy decks of mine from the scorekeepers that certain friends.
No names.
No names again, but certain friends put in a position where the scorekeeper would have it. So I can tell you that both that player and his friend were probably very grateful for.
I'm sure.
That.
I've returned binders to people, like their entire collections.
Oh yeah.
Even like small things, like people's like their favorite playmat, or just a bag of dice. Like it's always like exciting to like see how like they're just grateful. And I'm glad I can help them out.
And that is another side that you don't see very often as a judge. Maybe you can tell someone to go to the Lost and Found and see that expression on their face, but I imagine it's a completely different experience, like being the person who physically hands them.
My personal favorite is when people lose their phones and you ask Siri who it is, and then you get to call them up. That one's fun.
Oh yeah. That's a good one too. That
until Siri like doesn't know who it is, and then you're like, crap.
Ooh, yeah.
Then you like try to call people's moms, and it just gets great.
See, my old phone used to have a thing where I could set the lock screen to like a text that would be like, this is Dave Eldon's phone, and please email me if you find it.
Sure.
And so my new phone doesn't do that.
We actually do that in our trade binder as well. We have it's like, this is ours. This is the phone number found. So just always like in the first slot.
That's a very good tradecraft. Deck boxes too, obviously, works on the deck boxes. The theory, of course, being that people will do the right thing if you make it convenient for them, and
normally they do.
Oh yeah,
I will honestly say most
because
people
Magic players know what it's like. Like I remember spending hundreds of dollars on deluxe cardboard rectangles too. So it'd really suck if
and to buy another copy of Bant Spirits too.
Yeah, well I have to buy some Scape Shifts. So.
Same, fam.
Oh whatever, you already have Scape Shifts.
I need 4 more because I will play it when CJ's playing it, and I want to play it, and I like the new art.
Yeah, I like the new art because it's like $5 cheaper.
That's fair. I just like the new art. If I was getting foils, though, I'd get the old foils because I like the old foiling more.
I do actually like the old art better because I think it's more iconic.
That's fair. It's a fish.
Well, no, like I was playing back then. Like I remember.
I wasn't. So.
I remember, opening Scape Shifts from that. By the way, used to own a foil.
This is the old one. No.
Yeah, this is the new one.
Or the new one. Yeah, not the old one.
I used to own a foil Scape Shift, then I sold it for like.
They're like we're trying to figure okay, so obviously like. What happened was they're like on the sea, and then all of a sudden like all the water went away, and there's like trees or something. Yeah. But like
they beached all the ships because the landscape shifted.
But like the flavor text makes it sound like they're the ones that decided to do it.
Yeah, like that's very interesting.
So like I'm trying to figure out like what the flavor text is actually saying.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like maybe something they did caused the maybe someone's like, hey, why is there this big plug here?
Let's drain the ocean.
Yeah, so maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. I like that idea. Just thinking we're in like a giant bathtub. Just like
yeah.
I like that. That's what I'm going with.
Sounds great. So with that was all of the topics that we had decided to cover today. And thank you so much for everybody who came and watched along with us. We are so excited to have our very honored special guest, Lexie Steele.
I do try.
So if you get a chance, be sure to check her articles out. She's on Hipster of the Coast. She also does some streaming, this Kintry Spirit with an underscore.
No, that's my Twitter, but it's just at Kintry. It's Kintry Spirit for Twitch, and it's at Kintry Spirit _ on Twitter because someone took Kintry Spirit.
How is that possible?
Yeah, I know.
It's like someone took Judge News, so I had to go with Judging News.
Gross.
Yeah.
So lame.
But
anyway.
Yeah, go ahead and check her out on those medias because she definitely I've read and watched some of her content before, and it's top-notch stuff, especially if you're interested in the Spirits deck in Modern.
Yep, shameless plug. Next Wednesday, I'm doing a deep dive into the Lingering Bant Spirits deck, which is 4 colors.
Ooh, boy.
So get ready for that. I'm going to play an IQ this weekend. Got another F&M behind me. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really liking it.
And a really great Magic player with the deck, too.
I'm getting better.
She made me at F&M last week.
I did. I beat 2 Eldrazi decks that week, too. It felt real good.
Well, it's a rough matchup.
That's fair. That's fair. The other one chaliced me on 2, and I still got there.
You beat Chalice on 2.
Yeah, I just went company, double lord, attack.
You can play the 4 mana.
Yeah, I just play the 4 mana, 2 mana dudes.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody who came out here. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next week. Bye.